In this video, I'm going to share my experience with the ceremonial psychedelic plant Yopo with you. Hi, my name is Alice. I'm from A Whole New High. Welcome to our channel. So Yopo is a psychedelic substance that comes from a native South American and Caribbean tree that contains DMT, 5-MeO DMT, and 5-OH DMT. And you take the substance from the beans and you turn it into powder, and then the shaman or yourself will blow it up your nose. First the left nostril, then the right nostril. I personally have experienced it in South America, in Panama, and it was a ceremony from a Brazilian tribe. It was just a group of Westerners. We came together. I didn't know anyone there, and we were part of this ceremony that was done in a little tent in a beautiful place in Panama near a beach in the forest. So a beautiful setting. And first they started with telling us a little bit about the plant and about how this plant, Yopo, is the medicine of the mind, that it will heal the mind, and that it will first break open patterns of your mind, so then afterwards you can go deeper into the medicine. It was the first time that I had ever heard of this medicine. I came across it and I was like, oh yeah, okay, let me do this, as I usually do with psychedelics that come across my way. But I was also terrified because earlier that day I had talked to someone who had already taken Yopo before, and he said it was the most intense experience of his life, and it was not easy. It was really difficult for him. So as I was sitting there, I was getting very, very nervous, and I was wondering if I had done the right choice to be in this ceremony. I got like, my mind was starting to paint pictures of how horrible it could be, and funnily, I was sitting right at the entry of the tent, so I could have just very quickly gone like and just run away and and just escaped. But I was sitting there and I was thinking, come on, you have escaped a lot of times in your life, and this is something that will be good for you. But then the ceremony started and they started giving the Yopo one by one, and I was sitting in like the middle of the group. So they started with the first person blowing up the Yopo in the powder form through a pipe into their nose. And I was getting very, very scared. They were coming closer and closer, one person after the other, and then they were right in front of me. So I was like, okay, now it's too late to escape. So I might as well surrender to the experience. So they blew up the Yopo into my nose, first nostril. It was very harsh. It was a very uncomfortable feeling. Then the second nostril, same thing, and then the medicine shot into my head, and I was seeing like patterns, different frequency patterns. It's hard to describe what I was seeing, but it was like very symmetrical, beautiful patterns. Then the medicine came into my mouth through the nose, and I could taste it, and it was a very bitter taste. It was very uncomfortable. The shaman had told us before to swallow it when it comes into our mouth, so I swallowed it, and it immediately made me so nauseous. Luckily, I was sitting right at the door, so I could just slip out, and I had to vomit, and I was just feeling extremely dizzy. I went back into the tent and I sat on my mattress, and I felt horrible, and my mind was resisting the medicine completely. I was in complete resistance, but I was very aware that I was resistant, and I was trying to surrender, and I was wanting to surrender, but I couldn't surrender. I didn't know how to surrender. So I was sitting there, I was suffering, I felt horrible. I was thinking like, I'm just not made for taking psychedelics, because I would really love to surrender, but I don't know how to, and I'm just fighting the medicine, and it's horrible. I feel horrible. This isn't worth it. This is horrible. I was in a very, very much resistance. And I just told myself I was never going to do psychedelics again. Of course, that's not what happened, but in that moment I was very convinced that this was going to be the last time because I just couldn't do it. And then I laid on my tummy. I was just feeling really, really horrible. It's very difficult to describe, but I was just feeling extremely constricted, uncomfortable feelings, dizziness, nausea, and I wasn't getting anything out of the trip. That's what I thought in that moment. But then I had a thought, and the thought was, well, who told me? Like, who? And the thought was, who said that I need to surrender? Who came up with that? Why is that so important? Why can I not just let my mind control the journey and release the judgment and the resistance that I had towards my resistance? And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to let my mind fight the medicine. And as soon as I made that decision that it was okay to fight the medicine, that it was okay to be in resistance, I just completely surrendered into the experience, which was funny. It was really funny. So I let myself fight the medicine. And from that moment on, it didn't feel like suffering anymore. It felt great. It felt great to be allowing towards my mind to not want to be in it. And it felt good, like this feeling of like rush, feeling of positive emotions rushed through my body. And I started to laugh. I started to laugh about the fact that I was resisting my resistance, and that I was like, that my ego wanted to control my ego. And I found that extremely funny. And then I had a vision. I had the vision of my mind. I can't fully remember it. It's actually 3 years ago that I had this experience, so it's not completely fresh. So but I saw my mind as a person, as a separate being. And I told my mind that it was fine. I thanked my mind for all the times that it protected me and everything it had done for me. And I gave it a hammock so she could go and relax. And she did. And then I went to her and I gave her a present, the gift of the word no. Because that was something that was extremely important to me, and that was the biggest lesson of my Yopo experience, was that in my childhood there were so many times where my no had either not been heard or had been ignored, and that was very traumatic. So now the no would come up in trips when I had to let go, and also in other areas of my life, the no would become really strong and become like a really strong boundary, or like even rejection of things, because it had been ignored when I was a child, when it was like in very important moments. And so I gave my mind in that moment that I was seeing as a person, just the letters no, and my mind was so relieved. And I told my mind that it was absolutely okay to say no anytime that it did not want to go into a psychedelic experience, anytime that it wanted to fight something, that was absolutely okay. And that was such a relief for me and for my mind. And then the whole thing turned into a celebration. And my mind and me, we were like celebrating with the word no, and we were having a little party. And it was just feeling absolutely wonderful. And I really felt that was the lesson I needed to get. And then the shaman came for the second round for those who wanted. And I just really knew that was a no for me. And I said no. So that was my experience on Yopo. I had a very, very intense but a very good experience. And from that moment on, it was really important for me to integrate this experience into my life, and to allow myself to say no in moments where I just really didn't feel like doing something for someone else, or didn't feel like participating in some activity that I really didn't want to participate in. So it had always been a very difficult thing for me to say no. But I came back to my community of friends and I told them about the experience, and they said, I am really sorry, because I feel like every time I say no, it's like a rejection. Also because I say no with so much guilt that it actually comes across as a rejection. So I made them aware of that, and I asked them to tell me like that I told them that I was going to start saying no more often, and to tell me in case it comes across like snappy or it comes across as a rejection, and then we could talk about it. And they were really receptive of that, and it turned out like a wonderful experience and really well. And I've learned a lot about boundaries in this ceremony and truly integrated into my life. Still have moments where it's difficult to say no nowadays, but I'm very aware of it, and I have come a huge step forward. So that was my beautiful experience, and also a very intense experience with the medicine of the mind. If you have any question, or if you also had a Yopo experience, I would love to know about it in the comments below. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Watch some other videos too if you're interested, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.